We are officially recording, and hello and welcome everyone to ACTLA's third Tutor Forum of this academic year, titled Transforming Learning Assistance via an Equity Lens. We have an amazing team from San Diego Mesa College to talk to you about how they fostered a culture of equity, leadership, professional development for their students and their institutions. So before we dive into all that fun stuff, I just want to take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Timerhan Venko. I am the SI coordinator down in Cal State Long Beach. I'm also the professional development coordinator for ACTLA. I will be helping facilitate this session, collecting audience Q&A. So throughout this presentation, we invite you to utilize the chat to respond to what different folks are saying or to ask questions if you want to hear a little bit more. We're going to do our best to reserve about 15 minutes for some quick audience Q&A. Some quick audience Q&A. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. That is what happens when it's week 10 of your semester. So to give you a quick breakdown of the day, Dr. Mark Manasse of San Diego Mesa College, college's Mesa Tutoring and Computing Centers will give a short presentation just about establishing the way they operate, their framework, the mission, vision, and values, and everything that they're doing with their students, as well as a short video that really demonstrates the intersection of equity, professional development, and leadership with the staff. And then we will transition to a quick kind of panel discussion with some of Mark's tutors who are here in the room with us. We'll do some Q&A, and then we'll wrap things up with a quick closing. I do really want to highlight that this Tutor Forum will be the last one we will be facilitating ahead of our online conference on April 21st to 23rd. Yes, ACTLA will be having an online conference. We want to see you there. If you like these topics and these types of interactions, we will have 3 amazing days with over 30 breakout sessions on a wide range of topics relating to tutoring and learning assistance. So we will be posting that information as a follow-up. It's only $100 for professionals, $50 for retirees, and students. If you're an enrolled student, a peer educator yourself, you can attend for free. So we want to see you there. We're excited to host, so we're excited to have you come. And we're really, really, really thankful for San Diego Mesa and helping us kind of get folks excited for this event. So real briefly, I do want to shout out a couple of my colleagues from ACTLA that are here with us. In the house, we also have Vandana Gavaskar, who is our current president. She's amazing. She'll be doing a deep dive session for the conference. And we also have Ted Blake, who is our president-elect. He will be transitioning as the president next academic year. He's also great. So they'll be helping me monitor the chat, collect questions, responding to some of you in the chat. But yeah, I think I talked enough already, so let's get things transitioned. I want to introduce Dr. Mark Manasse, who will talk about a little bit about himself, introduce his team, and start developing the framework in which we're going to talk today. So Mark, I pass the baton over to you.
Right on. All right, everyone, I'm going to try to speak as briefly as possible. I do have a brief presentation, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. I want to give the most time for what we're all here to hear about is from the tutors that I have the pleasure of working with at San Diego Mesa College, as well as one of our staff members. So I do want to let you know that Joe and Rain and Megan are not only tutors, they are mentor tutors. They support the development of other tutors, and they are tutors of the year on our campus. So every year we award a tutor who's done extraordinary work that distinction. Also, Nina is here with us. She has been a tutor before, but now she has progressed and she is a full-time staff member, a classified professional with us at San Diego Mesa College. And she helped me create this presentation. So I want to give her full credit there. And especially one of these slides that she is deeply passionate about. I'm going to, if one can be passionate about a slide, I guess, but I'm going to have her talk about that a little bit as well. Okie dokie. So thumbs up if you can see my screen. Sweet. All right, so we're going to be talking about this idea of learning assistance through an equity lens. What you see over here is a connection between when we were in person and on Zoom. So that's really where we are right now. We're all kind of in this liminal space of where we were and where we are and where we're going as we move forward to the future and what our learning assistance will look like in this potential hybrid model. So when we're talking about these equity moves and these transformations of how to transform ourselves and our programs, I want to talk about what that looks like at San Diego Mesa College and our Mesa Tutoring and Computing Centers. And we start with our purpose or our why. We have a couple of mottos that we connect to, this idea that we don't know it yet, but let's find out together, this idea of normalization of confusion, that we're in college, we're in tutoring, we're in spaces, because it's normal not to know. It is abnormal to know everything, but this is the opposite of what our educational system is trying to tell us. So we're trying to create a safe space and a working space where we can all come together and agree as a tutor, as a faculty member, as a student, whoever it is. We are moving towards knowledge acquisition and learning about ourselves and learning about stuff and things, and it's okay to not know it at all times. Additionally, this idea of kindness, this idea of not only being kind to others when they come into our spaces, but especially when we don't know things, which is normal, if we go back to that idea, to be kind to ourselves, to acknowledge and sit with this idea that maybe I have a learning space or a learning gap if it's about another person, if it's about a subject, whatever it may be. But if we greet people with kindness, including ourselves, which is often much more difficult, that we're going to be able to transform and be more equitable to not only other people, but to ourselves. Our mission that we created together as a team, and this is, we've all had budget fluctuations. So when I'm talking about as we fluctuated and zoomed up to maybe 150 tutors plus a team of staff and faculty that I'm managing and directing, we go through a cyclical cycle, this cycle of how do we create this mission that we're working on together, this idea of inspiring confident, independent learners to collaborate in a welcoming and safe environment, empower students, tutors, classified professionals, and faculty to achieve their educational and career goals. The heart of our mission is to promote professionalism and to cultivate a community of mindful learners through kind and equitable practices. So this is not something that was created top down. We created this with our tutors, and this is a second iteration of this. I've been at San Diego Mesa College for 5 or 6 years now, and we did this the first year I was there, and now after a couple years after that, 2-3 years after that, we redid it again, and this is where we are right now with our mission, as we work together to figure out what our mission is. Our values that we've also created together over a long iterative process, this idea of collaboration, equity, mindfulness, empathy, kindness, professionalism, empowerment, leadership, and respectfulness. This is who we are and this is who we represent. And so when I'm talking to folks who are interested in becoming a tutor, I share these concepts with them and I ask them if any of these ideas or concepts resonate with them, or they're curious about at least learning about one of them, this is a pretty cool job for them. But if every one of these words makes them sick to their stomach, that maybe it's not a good job for them, because this is who we are, right? And we have to figure out how do we continue to work with each other in these kind of with these spaces that we value these things. And additionally, sometimes, once in a while, we have fun, but only once in a while, not every day. Can't do that. Unacceptable. Our pillars inside of our program, this idea that tutoring is something to cherish, something to honor. It's not just I'm just a tutor. It's like I'm a tutor, right? Being really passionate about that and coming with that energy when we can, and becoming this educational professional. And how do I know I'm becoming an educational professional? These 4 pillars that are connected to our program, asking our tutors to get better at, not perfect, not done, not complete, but get better at least one of these pillars: tutoring, leadership, andragogy, learning how adults learn, including ourselves, and equity. So those 4 ideas, which clearly all connect with each other, we're just trying to deepen our knowledge in at least one of these areas. And that's how we know when I'm bringing myself to my space every day that I'm doing a quote unquote good job. And again, coming back to this idea of not done, you're not going to wake up one day and go, wow, I'm extremely 100% equitable right now. That was really hard to do. I'm glad that's over with. But realizing that all these pillars deepen and we keep learning and moving forward. So how do we foster these transformations? With recursive and ongoing training. So it's not a one-time onboarding, asynchronous type thing. This is something we come back to and repeat continuously with our group. We do utilize one of our frameworks with our team is the expert apprenticeship relationship model with the learning apprenticeship framework, that we look at the whole student. This idea of we begin with metacognitive conversations to help somebody deepen their knowledge, their cognition, their social interactions, and their personal interactions. So how does somebody do this in a tutoring space? Is we're supporting both the affective domain and the cognitive domain. And this helps us not only get to the stuff and things while somebody might be in class, but also the affective domain, what they're feeling and how they're bringing themselves to that space. This slide that I said Nina might be passionate about is this idea of creating this ongoing equity task force. So how do we deepen our knowledge? When we say we want to get better and improve equity, how do we do that? So it's providing training and connecting to our campus and our student services if it comes to, for some examples, neurodiversity, foster youth, different student services agencies, safe zone training, and all these different areas of our campus. How do we call them in and work with them so that we're not a silo working alone? So one of the questions that we had coming into today was, well, how do you have a more diverse staff, and how do you do those type of things, especially online? It's directly working with all these groups and making having consistent ongoing communication of, hey, we would like tutors from your students from your areas to become tutors, and we have tutoring. Tutoring is for everyone. It's not just for some people. So trying to reframe that idea. And how do we reach out is this constant communication with these different organizations, bringing them into the tutoring center and not having them be something separate. So what happens when we foster these transformations? We were just creating this when we got left campus, but it's our diversity map. So we're welcoming our tutors in our spaces and anybody else who wanted to push pins on where they're from and having this in our tutoring space. So we know that we are all from all different areas of the world working with each other. And I'm looking forward to continuing this when we go back on campus. This has been sitting lonely in my office, I believe, for last year. I hope it's still there. I think it's there. And we look at some of the data that we have. Very briefly, this dotted line you see across the screen here is our college success rate over 3 years. And you'll see disaggregated data between African Americans, Latinx, and first generation students. This is a 3-year trend of success. All folks in these darker yellow here, this tutored column, is 13% more successful, meaning an A, B, or C are past their course compared to students who did not utilize tutoring. So we are not only surpassing the campus-wide average, we're trying to close equity gaps between groups that have historically been shown to need or having gaps in success rates on our campuses. So we're directly researching that. Drilling down to the course level, here's another brief example. The success rate for English 101 was 73%, disaggregating for tutored students and non-tutored students. At the course level, English 101, which is our most popular course tutored over this one semester. Again, this is one semester snapshot, trigonometry. You'll see that blue dotted line, campus success rate, tutored, not tutored, disaggregated to this one group here. All right, so we have a whole bunch of data. This is just a brief snapshot of what we're looking at. We're trying to look at success rates, who was tutored, trending when we can, doing a semester if we can't trend, and looking at how folks are doing when they use our services. But that's enough out of me. As a brief transition to hearing from our crew here, from hearing from Megan and Joe and Rain and Nina here in a second. They created by themselves this video talking about the transformations that they've noticed in our programs. Let me see if I can pull this up. Okay, thumbs up if you can see a video. Great. Here you go.
Hi, my name is Kayla McKinley, and I'm an astronomy and a biological anthropology tutor at MT2C.
Hi, I'm Megan. I am a German writing and math mentor tutor.
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm a Japanese and writing mentor tutor.
Hi, my name is Helena Alessi. I am a Mesa alumni.
Hi, my name is Rain, and I am a chemistry tutor.
Before I started tutoring, I think I was really underconfident. I didn't feel like I really belonged on campus.
One of the biggest things I've learned is that with mindful practice, I was able to not only change myself, but really pass it on to others. When I started here, I was really quiet, amazingly enough.
My initial goal is when I came here, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my 2 years and then I'm gonna leave. But now it's like, I don't want to leave the people here. It's like, oh, I love these people. They're so nice.
Before joining MT2C 2 years ago, I mostly kept to myself and never really bothered trying to connect with anybody around me. By becoming a tutor, it really helped me come out of my comfort zone, and it opened me up to so many opportunities I never knew existed.
Since I started tutoring, I've gotten to know so many people, and I've gotten very, very connected on campus. And I feel like I actually can do this thing called college. And it's been super transformational for me.
When I was first starting out as a tutor at MT2C, I was very confident in my public speaking skills. Public speaking seemed very scary, but I knew for myself I wanted to get better at it every time. And so MT2C's trainings and tutor kind of community allowed me to gain the confidence to just present once, and it just led into this effect of just I'll present at the next conference and another conference, and it just became so enjoyable for me. Even though I was still kind of fearful each time, it turned into excitement.
I'm constantly surrounded by hardworking and intelligent people every day who always inspire me to try my best in everything I do and improve myself both professionally and personally.
I was able to start focusing on not exactly how adults learn, but starting to get down to that why I want to learn. It really helped me instill a lot of courage into other people. My transformation was at first a lot of thinking about myself, but then being able to think about others really made me liking this field of education.
It's just allowed me to fully find my passion. I just really love this whole atmosphere of always trying to find something to fix, trying to find new ways of looking at things, and it's all within the realm of education. And so I really love that MT2C's allowed me to discover that within myself and discover that strength in speaking to others and to speaking in front of audiences, which I couldn't imagine myself speaking in front of before.
I learned to advocate for myself more. I feel more comfortable now to go, in a sense, stand up for myself versus like before. And typically when students come to me with issues or something, I at least know where to direct them or give them, in a sense, advice just to help them, move through it. Like I always tell my students, I'm gonna drag you through the finish line. We're gonna finish this together.
I feel like I constantly am like, you can do it, keep going, we've got this. And I think sometimes in myself, I don't see that, but that's something I've recognized through tutoring. It's like, oh, if I'm telling my students that they can, I can too.
Tutoring has also helped me discover my capacity for leadership by becoming a mentor tutor for others.
I have these mentees now that I've been able to pass on what I've learned and learn from them.
I think having that support is amazing. I got paired up with my mentor tutor, and I remember that for me was what made all the difference, was having a mentor tutor and having him walk me through and encourage me through the process of kind of developing as a tutor. I went from, I can't do this, I'm not very good at this, to maybe I'm starting to kind of be able to do this, to like, wow, I am an educational professional. And
All right, so real briefly. All right, so missing, is it this one? Don't you love these awkward moments when Zoom doesn't work perfectly the way you want it to? All right, can you see my screen again?
Yes,
Thumbs
we
up.
can.
All right, as I wrap up here, before we send it to the stars of the show, next steps for us, we are conducting deeper research. You saw some of our data. We've already conducted focus groups with students who have utilized our tutoring services to figure out how we can continue to deepen our equity moves, meaning how can we serve even more of the students on our campus, not just thinking about different groups, but also drilling down to an individual student. So we've done some focus groups. We're creating then a survey that's in progress of being created that we would like to disseminate this semester. And then our intention, working with Nina on this right now, maybe she might reference this in a bit, I don't know. We're conducting this research paper that we're going to write together in fall 2021 on what we're finding. So if you ever do want to get in contact with me, please feel free to email me here. I can also throw that in the chat box. That's my son in a pumpkin field. I also wanted just to show that. All right, everyone, that's enough out of me. I would love to pass it on now to Q&A here hear what Joe and Rain and Megan and Nina have to say. Take it away.
All right, thank you for that presentation. Going over the slides, helping kind of set the stage for our conversation. I think the slides and especially the video, if you were able to look at the chat, like we definitely see that intersection you were talking about of equity and leadership and some of the more indirect stuff that wasn't explicitly said, but that sense of belonging and how cultivating that kindness and those things within ourselves and our like tutors and peer educators translates and creates a ripple effect for everyone that we work with. So thank you so much for setting the stage. But I agree, let's hear from some tutors because I don't want to be spotlighted for more than like a minute at a time. So the first question I really want to pose out there and really start kind of getting into the nitty gritty of how do we do this on our campus? How can we foster things that Mark just shared? So my very first question to the peer educators is, what kind of training has been the most beneficial for you on your journey to becoming that equitable education like professional? So any one of you go ahead and take it away.
I can respond to that. So hi everybody, my name is Nina. I am an MT2C happy representative here. I've been with the program since 2017. Like Mark said, I started tutoring and now I'm a classified professional in the program. I think as I was thinking about this question, I think there's two different types of training that have helped me become a more equitable professional in the field of tutoring and education and what we're doing there. One is really diving a little bit deeper into the students' background and what is it that you're bringing to the tutoring session. It's really trying to understand beyond what is going on in that tutoring session, and that so trainings with other departments on campus, such as GSPS, Safe Zone, UndocuLE, OPS, Project Restart, Foster Youth, ELAC, Neurodiversity, all these other departments and all these other people doing other things. So sitting with them and understanding what might students bring or not bring to a tutoring session. So it's really going beyond what's going on there. That's one type of training to just shed light into the possible challenges or not challenges or gaps, or just being aware of those things. And the second one is how to bridge the gap. So I know all of this, and how am I gonna what am I gonna do in the tutoring session that's gonna help this student achieve their goals or succeed in this class. So it's I think so again, two different types of training. One a bit broader, like the bigger picture, and then the second one is, so how can I effectively like study skills, time management, appreciative inquiry, empathetic feedback, the warm demanding educator, effective questioning. What are the strategies that I'm going to use with this particular student to help them achieve their goal for this assignment or for their academic journal or in their personal lives? How is it that I can help reach that? And I think the link to online tutoring, we've been having a lot of trainings that are bringing what we did on campus to the online reality. And it's been really great to just share with my fellow tutors at Mesa College their experience, and we're learning all of this together for the first time. I think instructors, staff, students, we're all doing this for the first time together. So it's really cool to have this sense of, like in the chat, a lot of people mentioned the sense of belonging and sense normalizing confusion, normalizing glitches. It's like, hey, I'm having a hard time. This is challenging for me too. I think that's normalizing the confusion is an equitable practice too, once we acknowledge that we're all in this together. So that's my experience with the training.
Yeah, and to add to what Nina just said, hi, I'm Joe. I was wearing that Hufflepuff shirt and I realized that my hair was super short then. Wow. But I can say that one of the things that Nina touched upon is what really helped me with training for both in-person and online has been empathetic tutoring, because what I've learned a lot is you can't affect their head very well if their heart's not in. So learning how to connect with them on a level that helps them. Those resources that we found that help out with like DSPS or just being able to connect with CARES or anything else has been just ways that we can really make it so that student can take a little bit of a load off from what's making them not being able to be an effective student, and make it so they can just take a couple moments, relax, be in a safe place so they can learn and feel that confusion that we all feel. Like, especially the online one, like we had like at least 3 workshops alone and trainings that were just on what are some tech issues and what's the first thing we usually do. It's not going, hey, fix this. It's, hey, how are you feeling? Are you doing okay with this? Making sure that they are not just going through the motions and not really having fun with education, really.
Can I? Okay, I'm gonna piggyback off of that.
Yes, please
So
do.
hello, my name is Rain. So I love that Nina mentioned like the whole person, because I remember when I first started tutoring, I think maybe 2.5 years ago. I would say I was more so focused on the cognitive part, the cognitive domain of it, to where now it's like, okay, it's not just they're coming in for this type of help. It's like I have to assess the whole situation. And so I feel that it becomes more effective when you do that, because now it's like, okay, now I feel like I'm understanding this person a little more versus just looking at them as someone, oh, I have a question, so I'm going to help you. But yeah.
Awesome. I've heard so many great things about adding a lot of like taking what's on the outside and bringing it in, right? The idea that we want to recognize our students of who they are, that idea of, I think intersectionality really comes to mind for me, of like just recognizing everything that is connected with the student, not just their position as a learner or a student on that campus, but who they are as people and what they're bringing into the session. And what I love about the way you all framed that discussion is it really, I think, funnels really nicely into our second big question that I want to pose. And that's, what does an equitable tutoring environment look like to you? So the things that you were talking about, like what does that actually look like when you're in a session with a student, in person or online, since we decided to talk about online naturally. And the second part I really want to, if you are able to connect it, is how does your work with your, within your program with your 2Ts, how does that start to translate to a wider kind of campus-wide culture of student success and equity? So big questions, but I think we got some time to break it down.
Yeah, I can talk about a little bit about that too. I think like Rain and Megan and Joe mentioned in the first question, it's really understanding that, connecting to that student in the human level, in the affective domain, before jumping into content building and the assignment itself. It's just, so this is, for me, an equitable tutoring environment or a tutoring session starts with a human connection. And I know about like empathy and this concept of a brave space. Like we're all imperfect, we're all bringing something to the table. So let's try to connect at the human level first, and then we can jump into the assignments. Because somebody mentioned in the chat, if they don't bring their hearts to the session, or Joe mentioned it, I think, it's very hard to bring their brains and minds to the session. So really, providing that brave space and safe zone where we can collaborate together. And again, if we don't know something, we're going to find it together, being kind to one another and acknowledging our human connection and vulnerabilities in that moment.
So yeah, when I first was hearing that question, it's like, what does an equitable tutor environment look like to you? There's the look, which can change, because like online, we're now looking at each other's screens. Like I look like I have a coffee shop behind me. In person, I have a coffee shop behind me. But it's this thing where like, it's that feeling, like you feel welcome somewhere. Like as soon as you walk in that first part of the room, of that, pop into a Zoom room or in that person, you're not greeted with, what do you want? What is the thing you're looking for? You're a problem, I'm the solution. That's not what we're looking for. It's this idea that anybody can come in there and without like judgment of whether it's any of the factors out there, especially the factor of just, I'm being punished to go to tutoring. No, it's, you're coming to tutoring because you want help. And that help isn't necessarily going to be as simple as 2 + 2 is 4. Yeah, I had to think about that. It's sometimes just as much as I need a strategy that isn't presented. I just realized I'm not a visual learner, I'm a kinesthetic learner. I need to do the do. Or I'm a audio learner, so let's read the book out loud together. Like things like that can be strategies that they can take forward. And to make it equitable is just continuously not denying their faults, but accepting their imperfections to make them better for them. That's what I always see as an equitable environment, which is not seen.
Sounds great. Really just acknowledging everything that they're bringing to the table, which is becoming a theme. Rain, I see you unmuted, so let's
Yes.
throw you in there.
I also wanted to add like the camaraderie that that tutors have within with each other, and then also like with the students. Like I know we're online, but I remember when we were like in person, you know, whenever someone would walk into the STEM center that we have, or like the writing center, they're always greeted with hi and like welcome to our space. And you know, sometimes, you know, they see like that tutor they've been working with and they get asked like, oh hi, how are you, like, you know, how have you been doing? And it really just builds like that connection with them. It makes me comfortable. Like, you know, if I were that student, like I would feel more comfortable and more welcome in space where the people are just open to just, you know, we're not just here for questions, like, you know, you're actually talking to me like I'm a person.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. I'm so glad you brought that up, Rain, because one thing that we tried when we first, you know, I don't know if anybody knew exactly what we or they were doing last March, as we were like, okay, move off campus, put everything online. The first thing we tried was, okay, we know we want Zoom and we want to give students this individual experience and make sure they feel heard and we're available. So we created a bunch of individual Zoom rooms. And one of the things we noticed right away is that our team environment, our camaraderie that Rain was just talking about, was gone. And this whole thing that we built up about checking in with another tutor or whoever's working with you on the floor, or another student, or how can I just rope other people in here? Yeah, you can have a one-on-one session, but this is about a team environment. So what we learned there was we need a larger Zoom space, and let's put breakout rooms inside of that Zoom room to, as much as we can, mimic that I'm walking into the tutoring center space feeling that I had before, be warmly greeted by the moderators that we then implemented and hired more of. So as somebody who could just make sure they're tracking and welcoming. So, and then the tutor can go back to tutoring, not this whole like everything's on just the tutor by themselves in an alone space. So that camaraderie piece, especially online, is crucial. And we can give people privacy. We can do breakout rooms, but this, I'm in a space, I'm like welcomed immediately, and I'm here to work with this team of folks who are constantly saying things. I'm not sure about that. What do you think? Let me pop out, ask this person. We're building an environment of, we don't know yet. Let's find out together. And it's fine that we don't know. And I'm going to laugh at myself when I make a mistake. It's all good, right? So we want to make sure that we continue to do that in our online spaces.
Love it. I think there's a really great point that's like being established, that this all starts with that sense of community and belonging that we want to foster within ourselves, within our peers, because we can't do the work if we can't do the work with others, and we can't do that with without ourselves, which I think is a really great point that all of you have been really emphasizing and echoing. I want to throw out the second part of the question just to see if there's any thoughts on that one before we move on. But have you been able to see a translation of how you do things and how you work with students in the center and create these equitable spaces? Do you see that impact on the wider campus culture with partnerships with other departments, things like that? So going back to the idea of like the ripple effect, in what ways have you seen that ripple grow? And Joe, I think we'll start with you because I see you unmuted on my side.
Like as soon as you said that ripple effect, one of my favorite things that we get to see around campus or even here is people, like when somebody says they're an MT2C tutor, you can see the connection that they draw. Like sometimes we help students get connected with like pathway things, like early helping their development in education so they can get transitioned better from like high school or where they started to that. But we have great relationships with so many other departments that we actually connect with them to where we can talk, share these ideas. And then that ripple effect is just this idea that they stop being so scared to talk to these things. Like we've had some students that like, whether we truly get to know, like, and that's never for us to say, is like, they connect with some of these programs that help them out. They just get to be able to be less embarrassed and have a little more feeling of like, it's okay to admit a fault. It's okay to admit that I need a little extra help in any situation, financially, like extra study time, things like that. Like, and you see that they start being able to be more confident, and then that ripple effect makes it so they're like, wait, how can I help the community too? So then they go, hey, maybe be part of like associate student government. Maybe I could be a tutor too for another spot. Maybe I can become take Mark's job. I don't know, but they all will start getting these slow things that that confidence pebble that we throw in their little lake, as a weird way to put it, is just, you see it grow. And even if they're not becoming an educational professional, they are still becoming a better them, which is the best thing to see.
I love it. That empowerment piece with the with how you describe the ripple effect is amazing, and that's how like grassroots change happens. It's with the people we're working directly with. So thank you for sharing that point. Let's move on to the third question before I think we start transitioning to some audience stuff. Not spotlight me, sorry, Joe, as you're sipping your coffee.
That's okay. It's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, you're the one that said coffee shop, so I guess it's super fitting. So last question, or predetermined question I want to throw out there before we start opening it up is, I just want you to share an experience when you had helped a student have that kind of breakthrough moment. And sometimes we'll call it a learning moment, but I'm going to change up and maybe also call it an empowerment moment. Maybe, if a student didn't get ultimately there, they felt more confident and empowered that they can still do the work even after your session. So just sharing like the impact of your work, and maybe like a quick anecdote or two.
I'd love to talk more about this because this is one of my favorite questions, seeing
Awesome.
students reach that learning moment, reach that empowering moment. I think I've had many, many of those moments, but more recently in the online environment, I encountered a student who was struggling not only with the content knowledge that they needed to get out, they also were struggling with the online factor. They couldn't navigate their Canvas, and they didn't know where their prompt was on Canvas, and they were having trouble, clicking on Zoom and just all of the technology aspect of it. And they came in and they were just so frustrated, and they said, I can't do this. I'm about to give up. And that for me was like, okay, let's take a moment. Let's, talk about this. And just being able to sit with that student and listen to them and just walk them through step by step and take the time with them to help them navigate the technology aspect of it first. So let's find where our syllabus is on Canvas. Then we can maybe find out where the professor keeps the assignments, which was on a completely different website. And so we were able to finally get to that. And then once we got to that, she was like, okay, she's feeling a little bit more confident. And so then we were like, let's take a look at the assignment. And then once we were able to dig into the assignment, we got through and we worked with it together for a little bit. And by the end of the assignment, she was like, I think I can finish this up on my own. I totally get this. And I was like, this is awesome. That's what we want. And just seeing her go from underconfident, I can't do this, I'm done with this class, I'm about to give up, to I can now start to try doing this on my own was amazing. And I love seeing students be able to do that. Yeah.
I love it. I love that. And I like how your point in the chat really kind of like, we're not really ever we're not ever really like working with just completely just the content. Navigating online, navigating all of that stuff in and of itself is like a whole nother course that we're helping the students that come into our programs manage and figure out, as we're also trying to figure out how all this online stuff works. So thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share a great kind of aha moment that you had as a result of your leadership development, these equitable spaces you've built, anything like that? Nina,
do you want to go ahead, Ray? You want to share?
No, it's okay, Nina. You can go first.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if Megan is talking about the same student, but I happen to have a student too. And just real quick, I saw that happening in the session too. It's like coming from, this is way too complicated. Maybe I even shouldn't be even doing this, to wait a minute, let's take a breath. Let me help you with, figure out technology first and then figure out the assignment. And then the student leaves the session saying, I got this. I can do this. I'm gonna do this. So the aha moment is not only figuring out an assignment or completing that tutoring session. It's it's a complete shift in the way she was treating herself, right? In the first place, it's the self-talk that she brings in, saying, I don't think I should be doing this because it's way too complicated. I'm gonna wait for when we go online, back in person, to, you know what? I think I can do this. I'm gonna keep coming to tutoring, and as long as you guys are here to support me, I'm gonna keep doing this. I can do this. So the self-talk after 30 minutes of interacting with the student, it's great to see her growth, and the confidence and all of it. Thank you for sharing that story, Megan. I don't know if it's the same student, but I had a similar experience.
That's awesome. Rain, did you want to add one more?
Oh, yeah. So the one that I always think about, so I'm a chemistry embedded tutor. So if I get a little technical in terms, I apologize. But the one I really remember is I had a group of 10 students and we were going over like the periodic table, and it was like on electron configuration. And I remember the students, like, at first they didn't understand it, but that's fine. I was walking them through like how I would have labeled the periodic table and just like to guide them. And then, I had like students like, oh my goodness, like, okay, that makes sense. And then to where they started understanding it and started helping one another. Well, during the session, there was like one student in the way back and he just looked completely defeated. And so while everyone was helping each other out, I decided to, in a sense, like split off from the group just to go help him. And he was telling me, oh, he just had a harder time like working like in a group, like in a group environment. So I sat down with him for the remainder of that session, just like, explaining to him like one-on-one, and then walking through examples with him. And then afterwards, when we had finished that, when we had gone to the class, this same student that was like completely defeated was in the class, like helping students who didn't attend the session understand this concept that he previously was like, did not understand. So that to me, like, I always think about that one.
That's awesome. Joe, did you want to add in one more quick note before we start hitting some audience Q&A?
Oh yeah, no, one like that, when you said that spark, that always makes me remember that we call it the aha moment sometimes when we first learn, like, aha, I got it. So it's this really funny thing, and you can see it in people's eyes, you can see it in their emotions, their movements in their body. And I always think about the aha moment that in a tutoring session when it's that Star Trek effect where once you say like this really complicated thing, like Rain said all these things about like periodic table, and my brain had to go, oh, that thing that tells all the elements. And so even on that, like, you see these amazing moments where, like, especially I deal with a lot of like language and like the English, Japanese have all the bubbles. My favorite aha moment is the moment somebody forms a sentence, either if they're ELAC or ESOL or Japanese SOL, second language, and they're able to, the first time they form a sentence, even if they didn't know they did it right, you see this beautiful joy in their eyes that they could, like, rather than calling themselves, oh, I'm not part of the language, I'm a learner, and this is a language I can do. So rather than calling themselves like, I'm not a writer, I can be a writer, I just write differently a little bit, or I may not have learned Japanese at the start of my life, but it's part of me now. So the ahas of being part of the bigger picture of their own learning.
I love that so much. The idea of taking away from like that deficit thinking of I'm not something, or rather I am this. There's just things I need to work on, or things I, with enough work, like I'll get to the level in which I can call myself a math person or a Japanese speaker or whatever the case might be. All right, so we're at 11:47. Such is all things Zoom and learning assistance and fun discussions running behind time. So I'm going to try to knock out some, I'm going to try to ask some of these audience some questions that we've gotten before the presentation started and during. We'll do our best to kind of do a little bit more lightning round just so we can kind of touch upon everything. The one thing I do want to just let everyone know is Mark is awesome. He's amazing. He also, as Mark, like, is boasting silently on mute. So I will be including his information in the follow-up email that will contain a recording to this. So if some parts went a little bit fast, you'll have a chance to review it asynchronously. You'll have Mark's contact information if you have any more specific questions pertaining. But let's dive into audience Q&A. The first one we got, I think, is very apt of the moment. You know, we're in the thick of our term, whether you're quarters, trimester, semester, summer's almost here. We're already thinking about fall. So I think many of us are starting to think about recruiting and hiring for the summer and fall terms. So one question that's come up is, what has your team done or is currently doing with your advertising, your recruiting, and your just overall hiring processes to address the equity and diversity of your staff?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're directly reaching out. One recently is we have a really strong relationship with our Promise program. So Joe, Nina, some other folks on our team are doing presentations with that group and letting them know about not only our tutoring services that are available to them, but that they're welcome to become a tutor. And these are a wide variety, wide range of our students at Mesa College, or our Promise students. And you know, our goal, one of the things I didn't go over as so just doing a 10,000 foot view of our program here, is we have a goal of having our tutors represent our campus body. So we want tutors to look like our students and our students to look like our tutors. So making sure that we're reaching out, going to Emoja meetings, saying, hey, you know, anybody here interested in being a tutor? So we had one of our faculty coordinators do that last semester, maybe the semester before as well. And looking at these different groups and how we can help them. We have direct grant funding, as a lot of us probably do, especially across the country here. Title V funding, we're an HSI campus. We're directly looking at how we're supporting our Latinx students and how we can develop our Latinx leaders inside of our tutoring program. So these are things that are directly tied to our learning as we're trying to reach out into our campus and recruit tutors who can support their community and our campus at large.
Very cool.
And also when in a tutoring session, sometimes that's the best place to advertise. If they're learning and they want more experience, I tell them that I was terrible at learning too. I always have to go, you want to see my grades? And I could show them a very colorful, letter-filled grade thing. But we all start somewhere. So sometimes even just that spark of them going, maybe I could do this, is a perfect time to our advertisement to get a tutor in there.
Cool. That's pretty much how we get our SI leaders. It's students that took advantage of SI tend to be the ones that want to participate and be a part of our program. Next question I have, so this is going back to the presentation, Mark. How do you define a tutored student? Is it by the amount of sessions attended or hours attended? And if so, what's the number? And then I think connected to this is, what's also considered a success? Like, is it grade, GPA, DFW? What's data points you're hitting on?
So our data points are success is ABC or pass the course. We've over this 3-year trend that I was talking about, we've served more proportion of our students every semester. So Mesa College, depending on the semester, and we know there's a decrease in enrollment right now, 20 to 25,000 students. We went from serving 10% to 11% to 12% to 13%. So we're getting up to about 2,000-3,000 students served. And what I mean by serve is both would be in play. We're looking at both attempts and time on task in our center, especially as we're moving towards, and this is a whole other conversation here in California, apportionment and things like that. Our tutoring stats that I shared with you, it's based on attempts. So an attempt where they come in, we have a lot of the folks in this room actually support the tracking when folks either enroll online or in person, or getting their ID when they come in our online spaces. And I saw a couple other questions in there, but Timron, I'll let you figure out where the direction we're going. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna knock him out as much as I can since we're running shorter on time. So one question came up with regards to volume. So how, you present a lot of great strategies collectively on building a sense of community, reaching out to the student, things like that. So how do you think these strategies could work in a walk-in center where there's a lot of students and not as many, or just a relatively small number of tutoring staff? So how do we, what are some of the strategies you've used when there's that dynamic? Not a lot of staff members, but a lot of students coming through.
So this is the best thing in the world, and also the hardest thing that we've had to learn online as well. Haha. It is this great thing that a lot of tutoring can be this organic experience of solo, private, that's great. But sometimes you get these people that just need to work together. Like, and our embedded tutors actually do a lot of practice with this of seeing similarities in people, what they're doing, and being like, hey, how about we work as a group versus just one-on-one, one-on-one. So bringing people into a group as well. Online, it's been a little bit of a touch and go, but we've been getting better at it slowly. So I always say, like, if we see people work on similar things, help them out. Make them tutor each other, and tutoring to tutor. A lot of tutoring words. I'm just gonna say tutor until it's done.
Cool. Question that came up in the private chat that I want to make sure we have time and space to include. So a question that was sent to me via DM and then was reposted publicly. The Black student experience is filled with an intuition about what these spaces or people on campus have an understanding of. So often being welcoming is just not enough. So how do you demonstrate that to students who do not come in, and Black students in particular?
Any of you want to chat?
You can go first, Mark.
Sure. So yeah, again, I think it's direct working with faculty, working with the organizations, having communities inside of our own community. One of our faculty members is African-American, and she's very active on campus as well inside of our tutoring program. So I think it's this continual learning about what to do, how to do it, talking about, having real conversations about equity gaps, what's happening in our educational system, what's broken about our educational system, and how we're actually here to learn and continue to improve and do better over time. So I think it's the idea of reaching out, communication, working with the community that we have inside of our center, reaching out into that community, and realizing, like, and continuously asking questions. How can we get better? Sometimes those questions are data driven, like you saw, like we shared, and we are seeing some changes there. But when we're noticing gaps or things aren't working, being honest, saying, please help us figure out what we can do better. I think this idea of the kindness, and we don't know yet, it's not just about math and chemistry and writing. It's about the field of education and how we can work together and try to improve.
Okay,
Awesome.
I love that you mentioned that, Mark, because I remember when I did my orientation as an embedded tutor, I was like, oh, I kind of felt weird in the sense that I was like, am I the only African-American tutor in here? But then I saw I'm gonna I don't know if it's okay, but I saw Simone there, and I thought, at first I thought she was a tutor, and then I was like, oh my goodness, she's my boss. So that made me feel a lot better in that sense. It's more so just for me, it was more so like just seeing someone of similar background there in that space.
Yeah, no, and definitely, like, plug in her. Simone is a fantastic boss. She's fantastic. I'm like, but one of the things that, like, Mark said too is, like, and it's this really thing that Rain touches too, is not trying to hide the inequities sometimes of those things. Like, if we don't have a lot of African American students or tutors, we can't be like, oh, we're completely diverse. Has to be there. Like, we have like mestizo, we have like all sorts of mixes all over the place, and it's always this thing where if we see it, we sometimes can call it out. And we love when students actually are like, why isn't there more representation? We're like, yes, we need more. And that's the honesty that we are always learning. We can't just be at, oh, one and done. We have one Filipino guy that has his hair back and has a coffee shop. We're good. No, but it's always, everything needs every aspect to be exposed. We can't just say, oh, we're colorblind here. No, we're not colorblind. We know things are there. Like, we can't hide behind the word equity and say we're good. So always striving to reach out whenever we can.
Thank you for that, John. I think you hit a really, really great point. Like, we can't expect equity to happen if we're not willing to confront the hard truths that exist on our institution. And game planning, making legitimate action steps towards addressing those hard truths. So I think you really hit it on the nose of, you have to be very conscious of what are the inequities that are present, and then start working your program to address those things. So thank you all so much for your presence. Everybody that's still in the room, please give them a virtual round of applause, hype them in the chat. They were absolutely fantastic today. I really thank you for being here, dropping so much knowledge in a short amount of time, almost as if this was a real tutoring session. You get so much done in less than an hour, and yet we're walking away with so much more. So a couple things I really want to emphasize. After these initial waves of applause and encouragement and just general love from the learning assistance community kind of wraps up in the chat, I'll resend an evaluation for today's Tutor Forum. We really want to always get your feedback. Our next big professional development event will be our online conference. So if we didn't get to touch upon a question as deeply as you would have preferred, or you wanted to hear more, luckily for you, we're going to have 3 full days of breakout sessions from folks across the nation that are talking about how are we doing this equity work, how are we humanizing ourselves, and how are we making our field and practice even better and attentive to the needs of our students and institution. So please be on the lookout. If you haven't considered registering, please register. We'd love to see you there. The more people we have, the more viewpoints, the more representations we have of our diverse learning assistance community. We're excited to have you. It's going to be a great time. If you've been to an ACTLA conference before, it's lit. Like, I'm just going to be real. It's the thing I look forward to every year. Again, please go ahead and complete the survey. As promised, I will include a follow-up, or I will send a follow-up email with the recording, with Mark's contact information. If you have any questions, suggestions on what ACTLA can be doing better to address all of you in the learning assistance community, don't be shy. We want to hear from you. We want to tailor our community to meet the needs of the folks that are with us. So with that, it is 12 o'clock sharp. Please, please, please enjoy the rest of your day. Take a break. We've been on Zoom for an hour. We know the realities of being on Zoom for more than like 60 minutes. So enjoy the rest of your day. I'll hang back if you have any questions or anything you want to share. But I'll go ahead and end the recording now. Be on the lookout for the follow-up email. Please do the evaluation, which is in the chat, and have a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday. Bye.